All right, Sekou Smith joins us, NBA TV, NBA.com reporter. NBA TV's got you covered, by the way, with all the latest news and their 2015 NBA trade deadline special later today at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And Sekou joins us on the Little Caesars Hot and Ready hotline. Let me start with a general question, Sekou. The craziest trade deadline story that Sekou Smith can remember is?
Well, it depends on if you want the craziest trade deadline lies or the half truth.
I will take it all. We'll take it all. Yeah, that all sounds good.
There's a ton of it. One of the best stories I've ever heard, though, was a few years ago at the trade deadline when there was a rumor floating around that Kobe Bryant. This is back when Kobe was disgruntled and didn't want to stick around, per se in L.A. When he was doing the parking lot interviews with people and, just bashing the Lakers. There was a great rumor at the trade deadline that year that Kobe was forcing a trade, believe it or not, to go and play with LeBron James. And it was like, what? So you start calling around and you talk to 2 or 3 executives and, they're all as gullible as the rest of us are on, around the deadline. Everybody's desperate. And I had 2 guys telling me, yeah, this is true. Kobe's thinking about leaving. And, we've heard that. We've taken some calls about some different things about facilitating the trade. And I'm saying to myself, this has got to be a lie. There's no way Kobe's going to play on LeBron James' team. And it didn't turn out to be true. But for about an hour, it was like the greatest rumor ever. I mean, we were all hyped up, getting ready to write stuff on it. It turned out not to happen, unfortunately. So, we all know how that turned out. LeBron ended up going to Miami, and Kobe's still in L.A., so anyway.
Well, that leads me to another question. Give me the percent of the reporting that you have to do, the digging that you have to do. Give me the percentage right around this time of year of executives you call that shoot you straight and executives that are not shooting you straight, in your opinion.
Well, I mean, I've been covering the league for 16 years. So I have a pretty good group of guys I deal with who are straight shooters. I would say it's 70%, solid stuff. And really it's guys not so much giving you information, but keeping you from going with bad information. And then there are another 30% of guys who are just, they're throwing grass in the wind like everybody else, man. That's the problem. Nobody knows what's really going down half the time because the agents are the ones controlling it. They're the ones controlling the flow of information and directing the rumors. I mean, a lot of times the information you see out there is agents wanting something to get out, to benefit their own cause. The best, believe it or not, the best sources around the deadline are the players.
I imagine.
If you got good relationships with the players, and if there's a guy who knows he's getting moved or is just telling them, hey, this is what's going on, no agent is going to lie to his player. And no team executive is going to tell the player what's going on unless they know it's rock solid. So what you do is you make sure you stay tight and in touch with the players because they're the guys who are going to know what's happening.
Sekou Smith joins us, NBA TV, NBA.com reporter, joins us on the Little Caesars Hot and Ready hotline. All right, Reggie Jackson. First off, let me start here before we start, throwing out, if anybody's interested or anything like that. Obviously the agent comes out and says Reggie demands a trade. What's your theory behind all that, especially the timing of it? Do you have one?
No, I mean, I just walked past Reggie and shook hands and said hello to him, in New York during All-Star Weekend. He's one of my favorite young players, and he's almost to the point now where I can't call him young anymore. But, he's one of my favorite guys in the league because he's been put in a really untenable position. They're asking him to back up one of the league's best point guards, and they want him to get better and strive to be a great player, but they want you to be content with not being a starter. And that's really difficult to do. I think it's the same sort of thing they asked James Harden to do a few years ago. And I'm not suggesting that Reggie's going to go off and get his own team and become the type of player that James has become. But I think it's the same situation, and it's what makes it so difficult to cultivate a roster like the Thunder have, where you have so many similar young players in terms of where they are in their careers, the sorts of talents they bring to the table, and you're asking them all to sacrifice, for the greater good. And that's a tough thing to do when you're not winning titles. You can win 50 games a year, and it sounds good, but that ambition is still there. And I think Reggie got a taste, of what it's like to be the guy running the show, and I'm sure he enjoyed it as much as it looked like he enjoyed it. And I don't blame him one bit now for wanting to be in a situation where he gets to prove to himself and everybody else that he's the player he thinks he is.
Well, I'm going to test out a theory on you, and you tell me candidly whether I'm just out of my mind here. Sekou Smith with us on the franchise, NBA TV, NBA.com, that he saw, or his agent, or both, saw a lot of fireworks going off with Goran Dragic's name being thrown just out there, and Goran doesn't want to be in a Suns uniform anymore and demands to be traded, and just the news was popping everywhere, and there were so many teams interested that it was like, wait a minute, Reggie's camp, whoever it was, we've been kind of sitting here quiet and kind of minding our own business, but we've been wanting to leave this whole time too. Maybe we should throw our name in the ring here and see what comes back. Is that a plausible theory, or am I just out there?
No, I don't think it's an implausible theory. But I think people have known that Reggie's, been out there for quite some time. I mean, there's a 6'4" whirlwind of a roadblock in his way in Oklahoma City.
Sure.
As long as Russell Westbrook's there, there's going to be no room for another point guard, even though some people think Russell should be a shooting guard or whatever, all these theories people have about that. As long as he's there, there's really not a place for Reggie to assume the kind of position he wants to, unless you change the way you play fundamentally, unless you make Russell a two guard and insert Reggie as your starting point guard and really change the dynamic of that team, which some people seem to think that would make sense. I don't know that it makes good sense to put that formation together. I think when you've won at the level the Thunder have, when healthy, obviously, with Russell at the 1 and KD at the 3, you don't go messing with that. You don't tinker with that sort of success. You let it play out, and if it wins your championship here in the next few years, so be it. And if it doesn't, then no one can say you didn't let a superstar, duo play to their strengths.
Sekou Smith with us, NBA TV, NBA.com. Guys that haven't been moved yet that you think will be by the time the trade deadline passes.
Oh, wow. That's the toughest one because, there are certain guys, obviously, who are, banging on the door. We mentioned Goran Dragic. There's no telling what happens with Reggie Jackson.
Aflalo?
Aflalo's one. The guy who this has just been on my mind nonstop for weeks now has been David Lee in Golden State. Because if I'm the Warriors and I need another piece, another big that can do some different things to give me some security for Andrew Bogut. And I don't know that David Lee is. I don't know that he's big enough, strong enough, sturdy enough in the post to be the kind of guy that you can say, hey, this is our security blanket if Andrew Bogut gets injured. David Lee's a guy, to me, if Brooklyn's willing to move Brook Lopez in any form or fashion, and I'm the Warriors, I'm listening to that, when Billy King makes that phone call. So I think David Lee's a guy that, to me, could come out of nowhere tomorrow and you see his name surface as a potential piece.
All right, let me go a little bit more around the league, too, here before we let you go. Amari Stoudemire, obviously that's a name that we've been throwing around a lot around here lately since the Mavericks are obviously a Western Conference power. How does he change your thoughts on the Mavericks going forward, if at all?
I don't know that he does. I mean, I think they're going to be a problem for somebody in the playoffs regardless. But I don't know that Amari has that 18 to 25 minutes a night impact left in him, And if he does, great. But if he doesn't, I won't be surprised. He's at the stage of his career now where you can't necessarily throw him out there and lean on him night after night. But the beautiful thing for him is that's why he chose Dallas. They won't have to. they're going to ask him to play a role where he plays maybe a maximum of 18 minutes when he plays. And that means you get short, explosive doses of him without getting those 3 or 4 minutes where he's just dead-legged and you see the time and wear and tear that's taking toll, on his body. So I really think Dallas was going to be a problem the minute they got Rajon Rondo on their team. And Rick Carlisle is, to me, one of the very best in-game coaches in all of basketball at any level. And if you give him an opportunity to lock in on a team in a 7-game series, you're going to have some problems. So I think it was a smart move, obviously, for Amari to get out of New York, but an even smarter move for Dallas to jump in there and make sure they were the team that he wanted to go to.
All right, you can just throw out names for this one real quick because I know you got to run. But list of teams in the East that you think are finals contenders, Sekou.
I think Atlanta, Cleveland, Chicago are certainly contenders. Toronto and Washington strike me as teams that are on the cusp of that, but I'm still not sold. But I think those other teams, based on all their numbers and the way they've played and what they have in terms of dynamics to structure their teams and how they play and who they play through, they look to me like teams that they could break through and get to the conference and to the finals.
All right, let's do the opposite in the West. The playoff teams, the group of 8 or 9, if you want to count the Thunder, Pelicans, if you want to count them, the group of playoff teams in the West that aren't finals contenders.
That's a great question. I think, the only teams to me that are legitimate finals teams in the West, I think the Thunder are the only team that's on that window, on that ledge that's a finals contender. Everybody else down there in the bottom half, I know they think they are. The Clippers, and all these other teams, the Mavericks, they all have
Spurs are down there. Spurs are down there.
The Spurs don't count. Don't even talk. We shouldn't even talk about the Spurs right now. We know the minute they get in the playoffs, they assume the position in the front of the line.
Agreed.
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 But I think the Thunder are the most dangerous team in the bottom half of that playoff chase in the West, because we all know they're the one team with the sort of dynamic talent capable of getting hot in the playoffs and riding it all the way to the finals. And it's been proven over the years you got to have some star power to lean on come playoff time, and they've got two of them, no question, two of the very best the league has to offer if they need to go that route.
Sekou Smith with us, NBA.com, NBA TV. How did you experience the Kevin Durant clips in New York?
You know what? I have absolutely no problem with anything he said. I've been an advocate for a long time that I think the onus for voting for All-Star MVP should be on the players. They're the guys who should know, and he's absolutely right. There are some of my colleagues that I'm still pissed off at. We voted Steve Nash MVP 2 years in a row, and I thought it was egregious then, and I think it's egregious now. And I promise you, had the players been voting in, that wouldn't have happened. I'm not saying anybody's perfect, but if there's going to be a responsibility to evaluate your colleagues and evaluate who does what at the highest level, I think there's no doubt it should be the guys who are out there playing. I think other sports, obviously have that sort of system in place, and I think it would make total sense for the NBA to do the same. I mean, I don't think the fans should vote for the All-Star game. I think that kills some of it to me when a guy who hasn't played gets voted in as a starter. I mean, I think it's just makes no sense.
Good talking to you, buddy. The NBA trade deadline special, 1 p.m. Central Time today. Sekou will be a part of all that. And you can also check out his podcast, NBA Hang Time Podcast at NBA.com. Thanks, buddy. Very grateful.
Sure, man. Thank you.